Ethan Voss had everything: wealth, power, control, but that night his world cracked with a single phone call. The screen flashed a name he had buried years ago: Lena. For a heartbeat he froze, memories flooding back like ghosts he thought he'd silenced. He almost ignored it until he heard the tremor in her voice. "Ethan, I need your help." Her tone wasn't angry. It was broken. Something inside him shifted. This wasn't the confident woman he'd once loved and lost. Her voice carried the weight of fear, of desperation. "Please." "It's about Ava." The name hit him like lightning. "Who's Ava?" he asked, his heart pounding. But deep down, he already knew the answer before she whispered it. "Your daughter." Silence swallowed the room. For the first time in years, the man who commanded boardrooms with ease could not form a single word. His mind raced, fragments of the past twisting together. He hadn't known. He hadn't even been given the chance. Lena's words came out in broken pieces. Hospital, treatments, running out of time. Ethan's chest tightened as he listened. In that moment, the billionaire who had everything realized what he truly lacked: a reason to care, a reason to fight. And it might already be too late. Ethan drove through the silent city like a man chasing ghosts. The world outside blurred into streaks of light and rain as his mind wrestled with the truth Lena had dropped into his life. A daughter, his daughter. 6 years of her existence erased by pride, by distance, by choices he thought were strength. The weight of those lost years pressed down on him like chains. Every red light felt like judgment, every second stolen from a child he had never held. He tried to picture her, what she looked like, if she laughed like Lena did, if she had his eyes or his stubbornness. But each thought only deepened the ache that clawed at his chest. When he finally reached the hospital, the smell of antiseptic hit him like a wall. It was nothing like the polished corridors of his world. It was raw, real, filled with quiet heartbreak. At the end of a dim hallway he saw her, Lena. Her hair pulled back, eyes red, a paper cup trembling in her hands. And beside her bed lay a small girl, pale and fragile, her tiny hand clutching a stuffed rabbit. Ethan froze. Every wall he had built shattered in that instant. This wasn't business. This was blood. This was life. For the first time in years, the man who could buy anything realized what money could never fix: time already lost. Lena looked up when Ethan entered, her eyes wide with disbelief. For a moment neither spoke. The years between them stretched like an invisible wall, built from every word left unsaid and every wound left to rot. Ethan tried to speak, but the sight of the little girl in the bed stole the air from his lungs. Her small chest rose and fell under the soft light, her skin pale as morning frost. There was a quiet hum of machines beside her, steady, fragile, terrifying. Is that her?" His voice cracked. Lena nodded, her lips trembling. "That's Ava." Ethan moved closer, his polished shoes silent on the floor. He had faced hostile investors, billion-dollar crises, and courtroom battles, but nothing had ever made his hands shake like this. He reached out, stopping inches from her tiny fingers. "Does she know?" he whispered. Lena shook her head. "Not yet. I didn't know how to tell her." The words stung deeper than any accusation. He looked at Lena then, seeing not the woman who'd left him, but the one who had carried his child alone. Through sleepless nights and impossible choices, regret burned through him like fire. "You should have called me sooner," he said softly. Her eyes glistened. And would you have answered back then? He had no answer, because she was right. Ethan didn't sleep that night. He sat by Ava's bed, listening to the faint rhythm of her breathing, terrified that if he blinked too long, she might slip away. Lena had fallen asleep in the chair beside him, exhaustion etched deep into her face. The glow from the monitor reflected in her tired eyes earlier, and he could still see that quiet strength, the same strength he once admired, then abandoned. The sound of the machines became a cruel reminder of time passing too quickly. He had missed her first words, her first steps, her laughter. Now he feared he might lose her before he even heard her say, "Dad." When the morning sun filtered through the blinds, Ava stirred. Her lashes fluttered, and for the first time her eyes opened. Ethan froze. Those eyes, they were his. "Are you the man Mommy called?" she asked softly. His heart squeezed. He wanted to say so much, but all that came out was a quiet, "Yes, sweetheart." Her small hand reached out, fragile but full of trust, and he took it, trembling. Lena watched silently from her chair, tears glistening in her eyes. In that fragile moment, the walls between them began to crumble. Ethan didn't know how to fix the past, but he knew one thing for certain. He wasn't leaving again. The following days felt like living inside a heartbeat. Every moment stretched between fear and fragile hope. Ethan became a constant presence in the hospital room, a quiet guardian by Ava's side. The nurses whispered about him, the billionaire who once ruled boardrooms now sitting in wrinkled shirts beside a 6-year-old, reading stories and learning how to braid doll hair. Each time Ava smiled, something inside him healed and hurt at once. But every time the doctors entered, his chest tightened, afraid they might bring news that hope was slipping away. One afternoon, Lena found him staring out the window, the city lights reflecting in his eyes. "You look lost," she said gently. He turned, his voice low. "I've closed deals worth billions, but I've never felt more helpless than now." She stepped closer, her tone soft but firm. "You're here. That's what she needs." Those words struck him deeper than any business victory ever had. For the first time, he realized that success meant nothing without someone to share it with. That evening, Ava fell asleep holding his hand. The warmth of her tiny fingers filled the cold corners of his heart. Ethan glanced at Lena across the room and their eyes met. A quiet promise forming between them. Whatever it took, he would fight for this little girl and for the family he once walked away from. Weeks passed, and the hospital became Ethan's second home. The man who once measured life in profits now counted it in heartbeats and smiles. Each day, Ava grew a little stronger, her laughter returning like sunlight after a long winter. Ethan had used his influence to bring in the best doctors, the newest treatments, sparing no cost. But more than money, he gave her what she needed most: love. Every bedtime story, every hand squeeze, every whispered promise became a bridge between the man he was and the father he was becoming. One rainy evening, Lena stood beside him outside the hospital, the air filled with the scent of wet earth. "You've changed," she said quietly. He looked at her, eyes soft but steady. "Maybe I finally learned what matters." She smiled faintly, the years of pain easing just a little. "Ava's lucky to have you now." He shook his head gently. "No, I'm the lucky one." The next morning, Ava was discharged. As Ethan lifted her into his arms, she whispered, "Are you coming home with us, Daddy?" His heart swelled and he nodded, unable to speak. For the first time in his life, Ethan Voss felt whole, not because of what he owned, but because of what he almost lost. The man who once built empires had finally found something worth living for, a family.